At the time we came into office in January 2025, the sector was practically on its knees. They had collapsed the sector, let me just put it bluntly. If you take upstream, if you take downstream, if you look at our reserves, our exploration and production, if you look at our refinery capacity, if you look at Ghana Gas as an institution, the Toabo that we built, if you look at Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company, if you look at Gridco, that's the transmission lines, and almighty ECG, there's not a single agency under the ministry that we haven't encountered serious challenges, like very, very serious challenges. Some will border on mismanagement, some will border on outright corruption, some procurement breaches, some pure incompetence. And you would wonder why the government would go that route. Because if you have the mandate of the people, you just have to deliver. Even if you will not deliver, at least don't sink the sector. And that is what they did. If I'm looking at a few of the things that I can speak to at this point. If you take the upstream, our oil reserves have dwindled significantly. As at 2019, we're doing about 71 million. By the time they left office, it was 43 million. And within that period, for a long time, we hadn't had any drilling. A lot of the super majors that came in had left. They just abandoned Ghana. They were not interested in our market again. The government, through its directives, led to the players fighting. You had a long, protracted fight between the government, ENI, Springfield, because of government's directives. That regulatory issues and fiscal issues that threatened the sector. What the government has done, led by His Excellency the President himself, and he mentioned this a couple of days ago when he met PIAC, was for the President and the Energy Minister to personally, I don't mean by delegation, the President himself, together with the Energy Minister, to engage some of these super majors, to give them confidence that, you know what, hold on, just consider coming back, and that as a government, we will put in place a necessary regulatory regime and to ensure that it's a viable market for you to come in. The unitization issue was dealt with within weeks. They had been there, we had gone to arbitration, which we lost, in fact, in court, arbitration, and it had sent wrong signals across the globe. Now you have super majors looking into our country again. If you remember, like I said earlier, they made so much noise about Gazprom. They made so much noise about Exxon. I don't know whether it will tell you if they were able to even do any exploration. There was nothing, zero. Under Act 919, practically nothing has happened under it. So the upstream, it's critical because we need to explore our oil reserves for the benefits of the people of Ghana. And that had been missing for years. Recently, ENI declared commerciality, and he declared commerciality saying that the Afina, the urban blocks were viable. And this is a petroleum agreement that they opposed. They opposed so much in 2016, to the extent that I remember at the time, they even reported the country and His Excellency the President to the Italian Prime Minister. And this is good news. In the last few months, we've had Talo drill. We have ENI also drill, which had not happened in a very long time. So we're resetting the upstream side. You're getting Chevron, you're getting Shell, you're getting CNOOC, some of these major companies express interest in our market again, and have showed commitment that they will come in. In that same sector, we had a major strategic agreement signed recently between Jubilee and the 10 partners, where they are going to invest fresh money of $2 billion each in our sector. That hadn't happened under them for several years. On Sunday, which they mysteriously went to town to say National Doomsday Day as a result of the upgrade, we've had gas increase by ENI from 245 million standard cubic feet to 270 million standard cubic feet, which is significant. In the next few weeks, we're also expecting Talo to do the same. And I'll take the opportunity to commend GMPC and Petroleum Commission under their leadership, together with the ministry, and most importantly, the support of His Excellency the President, for all the efforts to restart or to reset the upstream. It's very, very, very critical that we get back to the track after what they've done or what they did in governments the last couple of years. If I move from the upstream and in fact, even with the upstream, if I move from there to downstream, they completely messed the oil refinery up. As at December 2024, they left a debt of $517 million. They hadn't audited the account for 6 years. 6 years. In fact, they practically handed over the refinery to foreigners. That is what it is now. And this government has had to take the bull by the horn to take steps to now get the refinery to be operating under the management of under the new management.
It's someone being held accountable or responsible for
Yes, there's several investigations ongoing, and that's why I said that as a ministry, my minister's posture is not to rant, is to fix the problems. And in fixing the problems, obviously, if you communicate that, people will know where we are as an institution. If you look at Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company, it's practically on its knees. You implement a policy like cylinder recirculation, which we started in 2016, and you think that as a government, they will take the opportunity for the cylinder manufacturing company to produce more cylinders. And they don't, rather the company is collapsing. And under this administration, we are retooling it. The government is engaging Ghana Gas. Ghana Gas has been very supportive on that angle. And beyond that, also looking at GCB to be able to step in to raise some funding for them and to deal with it. TOR hadn't done maintenance for years, turnaround maintenance for years. It's as if they practically wanted to collapse it so that they'll be able to sell it off for cheap, like what they did with Commander Sugar Factory. And all those issues are being handled to ensure that we have a solid energy sector, a solid we turn around the sector. Moving forward, you also look at ECG, for example. ECG's problems are just a total mess. And serious procurement breaches. You have had consistently ECG exceeding their budget. For example, in 2023, they had a budget to spend over 800 million Ghana cedis. They spent over 8 billion cedis. In 2024, they had to spend 1 billion. They spent over 8 billion cedis. So for 2 years, you have a budget of 2 billion and you end up spending 16 billion. How will you survive as a company? Who in his right senses will continue to procure not even essential goods, non-essential goods, to the extent that you have containers move from 1 to 10 to 100 to have over 2,600 containers sitting at the port? Or if it's your business, will you do that? Will you keep incurring demurrage whilst you buy non-essential goods? And all these containers, you don't even have essential materials that you need, like transformers, not a single transformer in there. You don't have a single meter in there. They practically collapsed the company. And if you look at what has been achieved in the last 6 months, and pursuant to the directives by the Minister of Energy and Green Transitions, and then the commitment of the MD, then you ask yourself, in 8 years, what were they doing in office? For 8 years. What were they doing in the office? ECG today owes over 80 billion. From January to now, we have reduced it from that to 67 billion in less than 6 months. In less than 6 months. So if you do sector by sector.
How did you do it?
Oh, prudent management.
How?
Let me give you a typical example.
I mean, what has changed?
Let me give you a few examples. Okay. One of the critical decisions has to do with procurement. Okay. For some strange reason, they merge estate with procurement. I don't know how the director of estates will be the one making procurement decisions. We have decoupled that. And the minister's directive is that, number one, don't procure any non-essential goods. That's the first directive. Don't do that. Even though the ministry is not interested in micromanaging ECG because it's an entity on its own, it has a board, the ministry has a supervisory responsibilities. So the minister is exerting that supervisory role to ensure that we redirect ECG to its core mandate and deal with some of these problems. Another policy by the minister is that as a company, you cannot go and procure and then the supplier will leave the goods at the port. If you have any contracts with any supplier, the goods must be delivered to the doorstep of ECG, to ECG's warehouse. Because you don't want a situation where the person delivers the goods at the port, you don't have money to clear the goods, and then you're incurring demurrage. The last figure that was put out, huge demurrage, almost billions of cedis in demurrage as a result of some of these actions. So that alone goes to direct how the management of ECG should act. Another one minister has said is that I will not determine your procurement, but you should share your procurement plan. Share with the ministry at every time. Once you share your procurement plan, the ministry will be able to observe or to supervise, to know that you are procuring goods that you need. For example, they have 2.5 mm cables in these containers. Some of them, more, if we don't buy any cables for 20 years, we'll be okay. 20 years. Meanwhile, what you need to do your critical maintenance is missing. So these are some of the measures that the ministry has put in place